Let's get started on Zoom. Okay, now where did my content finish? Okay, so very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to come join me live for this training. Now, most probably you are in the middle of some kind of launch. Can someone please confirm that you are seeing my screen? Okay, so you are most probably in the middle of some kind of launch. 1 minute, and my Zoom window decided to act funny. Fine. Okay, let's get started. So you have probably been in the online business space for a while, and you know that creating a course or a program is the best way to scale your business so that you can stop trading time for dollars and reach more people, help more people. Because that is one of the reasons you started your business, right? To use your expertise, to use your skills to help more people. Now, it's not, if you've tried creating a course and taking it out there into the world, you probably learned this the hard way. That it's not about how great your program it is, how much juicy stuff you've packed into it, how much of a transformation you help people with. While all of that is important, it's also important, or if not more important, to be able to reach out and connect with the right people and to have the right people sign up for your course or program. That's what it's about. That is what a launch is all about, to enable you to reach out and connect to the right people, to make sure you can create more of an impact and that you can sign up more clients, right? Or more students or more participants to your course or program. And this free training, this webinar is all about how to create your marketing content without ending up in tears. Because one of the biggest challenges that women said they have when it comes to launching their online program is first, strategy, and second, content, creating all of that marketing content, because yes, heck, it takes a whole lot of content. So we covered the strategy in the previous webinar, which was last week on Thursday. And if you've signed up for this, you can catch all three at the replay link, which is thericherjane.com/ls/replay, blah, blah, blah. But you'll get it in the emails. So you can catch all three webinars in this series: the webinar on smart strategy, smart launch strategy, the webinar on smart sales pages, and today's webinar on creating smart launch content. Okay, so without much ado, let's get started. Today, this is the structure that we're going to follow. We're going to talk about a few do's and don'ts. Some of you who've done launches would have experienced these things, and hearing about them, learning from our mistakes is a great way for those of you who are new to launching to learn without having to do these expensive mistakes yourself. Then I'm going to talk a bit about the kind of posts that you normally need in a launch and the secret sauce to be able to create all of those posts, all of those Facebook posts, blog posts, emails with a very, very simple formula. Not formula, it's secret sauce. I love the sauce concept because it ties things together, and how you can use this to create a lazy launch. To wrap it up, I'd love to share a bit more about the launch bootcamp and a very special bonus that I have just for you folks. After that, if we have time and depending on who's on, we can review some of your launch content. Okay, sounds good? Okay, let's get started. Okay, so in case you don't know me, in case you're new to my world, I am Richa Jain. I'm a fiercely compassionate business strategist Clients call my method or my style tough love. I've also been a web designer. I was also in the corporate tech sector in semiconductor software for over 14 years. I'm a bit of a spiritual maverick, and I believe in creating and helping women create a business that is based on their passion, it's based on their purpose, and helps them make a good profit. Passion and purpose are not exclusive to profit. Okay, I need to see where that came from, that thing. Okay, now who this program is for, or who is this webinar for? So if this doesn't meet you, please feel free to drop off. This is especially for passionate women entrepreneurs who want to help more people through their course or program and make good money in the process. Both of those things have to go hand in hand, that you want to help people and make good money in the process. None of what I teach is meant for get rich quick schemes or instant money. That's not what I teach. It's about building connections, helping people, and making good money in the process. Okay, so now when you talk of launch content, if you're running an online business, launch content usually means Facebook posts or any other kind of social media posts, Instagram or any other platforms you use, blog posts on your website, because you want to drive people back to your website and to your blog post and have an embedded sign up under your blog post, to your webinars, your challenge, your ebook, free ebook or PDF or worksheet, and your emails. Now, put together, that is a whole lot of copy. That's a whole lot of words. And it can get very frustrating to have to write so many words just for a launch. As much as you love most women love their course or program, they love the idea of helping people, but they hate creating marketing content because it makes them feel icky. It makes them feel like they're tooting their own horn. It makes them feel simply because they do, standing up, being seen, being visible, being turned on all the time is not for them. And yet, if you've been in the online business world a while, it can feel like that is what is required for a launch, that you keep creating content and you keep showing up and you keep being visible, and all of that can be very challenging. So let's step back to the real purpose of your launch content. In the words of Seth Godin, it is about the purpose of content is to turn strangers into friends and friends into customers. That's the whole thing about permission marketing or content marketing. To help people get to know you, to connect with them and have a conversation with them through your content. Now I see a typo here on my slide. It's connection, conversation, and conversion. Conversation and conversion. The last thing is supposed to be conversion, right? You connect with people, you have a conversation with them, you help them, you get to know them better, and then if they feel that your course or program is right for them, then they sign up. That is conversion. Okay, any questions on this, ladies? Let me see who's online. Okay, as I would love to keep this interactive, so if you have any questions and stuff in between, just post them in the comments. I will also check Facebook comments periodically. Okay, or at least try to. Sometimes Facebook just doesn't update them. Now, when it comes to their marketing content, or when women tell me that they're not seeing traction in their launch, it usually comes down to one of these things, that their launch trigger was not effective. Okay, either it was not aligned with the course or it was a bit too much. What do I mean by not aligned with the course is, for example, take this launch for the launch bootcamp. Now, if my launch trigger, my webinar was all about websites, because hey, when you're launching, you do need to have a website. But uh, websites not directly related to launch. And I see women do this over and over again. They create 21-day challenges which have very catchy names but aren't quite related to their core program or the course that they're launching. Or again, when people create 21-day challenges, they end up overwhelming your audience or your target market with too much info. And then people have got so sick and tired and bored of you, or they've got so overwhelmed with all that you ask them to do during those 21 days that no one signs up for your course or program. So launch trigger not effective. And second, because the copy or the marketing material doesn't quite connect. Now this can happen because of a lot of reasons, but from a business owner's perspective, the most common mistake is because you've left your copy or your marketing to the last minute, you're trying to come up with things at the spur of the moment and wondering, you sit down in front of the computer and you wonder what the heck to write in your launch or what to post on Facebook, what to send out in your email. You're trying to do it all on the fly. And while that's okay for your first launch or when you're learning the ropes, if you really want to scale, if you really want to have people sign up for your course or program, you can't continue working that way. You can't keep doing things on the fly. Second reason is because they're not really clear on the target market. They haven't niched it down enough, or that they want to make their course or program for everyone. Okay, they think this particular course is for everyone. Now, while that may be true, if you're not targeting a particular niche, you wouldn't be able to speak to them, to connect with them in a certain way. Okay, because you're not quite clear on what they really want. For example, a 20-year-old woman wants very different things from a 40-year-old. A 20-year-old business owner or entrepreneur has very different issues and very different hurdles, bottlenecks than a 40-year-old woman who's running a business. They're very different, right? So you have to niche it down, okay? And as you keep joining in, please pop in to share in the chat box where you're from and what your course or program is about. I already see a few lovelies. Hi, Julie. Hi, Akatma. So lovely to have you here. And as you have questions, please keep sharing them in the Zoom chat box. Okay? So do you guys have any of you experienced this? Have you tried launching with a trigger that, didn't quite work out? Okay. So I want you to note that it's not about creating more content. It's not about coming up with clever posts or clever challenges. It's about creating more powerful content. It's about creating more of an impact. I've seen people, if their launch is not going quite the way they planned, and they still have a few weeks, I've seen someone stand up and say, hey, you know what? My webinar didn't work out, so I'm going to start another 5-day challenge. Or, okay, this challenge didn't work out, let me go do 2 other webinars, or things like that. It's not about creating more, okay? It's about creating an impact. That's what your content has to do. So your freebie or your webinar or your challenge, your launch trigger effectively, your launch trigger has to be aligned to your course or program. Okay? It should be the trailer. And your course should be the next logical step. For example, in the Launch Smart series, I've taught a couple of strategies for launching. I've talked about sales pages, and today I'm talking about content. And while all of this information is pure gold and it's enough to get you started on your journey, on your launch, I know that there are those of you who want more support, more in-depth reviews, and more in-depth strategies. And therefore, the Launch Bootcamp is the next logical step from this series, right? So do you see how it ties up? So it sounds very simple, it sounds very logical, and yet I've seen so many times that people don't do it. They will post in a Facebook group, what do you think my launch topic, my webinar topic should be? Or I'm thinking of a challenge. What do you think I should run? Or what should it be its name? Now, it's fine to have catchy names for your webinar and challenges, but if they are not directly aligned to your course, if you're making people think to make the connection that you've taught them something in your webinar or challenge, and they have to make the connection from there to your course, people are going to drop off, right? So it has to be aligned. And the second thing, is it too much? Will it leave them too overwhelmed? Now, the best example of this is challenges that go on for 7 days and 10 days and 21 days and 30 days. That's a lot to ask. People are busy, and asking them to show up for your Facebook Live every single day, asking them to show up and do something, take some action every single day for 30 days is a big ask. And after that, when you ask them to sign up for your course or program, they're going to say, and pay you a few $100 or $1,000 for it. They're going to just chuck it. I've had enough. I've already done enough with you for 30 days. I don't want any more. Okay? Because they are overwhelmed. It's not because your course or your program isn't right for them. It's not because it's not good enough. It's because you've already worn them out. Okay? So, any questions on this so far, or am I just talking to myself? Okay. So, and the next thing, when it comes to posts, especially Facebook posts and blog posts, you need to create different kinds of content. Now, just give me a minute for some water. You've probably seen these kind of posts on Facebook, and you wonder how people keep coming up with such gorgeous posts that directly or indirectly link back to their launch. Now, there's this very simple formula to it. Okay, you need a certain kind of post. Now, you need an authority building kind of post, or a few authority building kind of posts that position you as the expert, that showcase your experience and the kind of work that you do, how you help people. You need posts that help you connect with people, letting them get to know you, letting them see that you understand what they're experiencing, that have them nodding along, yeah, like you read their mind. Posts that share things about why now, why this program, how is it different from other programs, why are you doing this kind of work, your reason behind doing this, why this program or this webinar is right for them, those kind of things that help form that connection with them. The other kind of posts are teaching posts that help them, where you're helping them understand some aspect of topics that are related to your course, or some kind of how-tos. In these kind of posts, you don't have to actually say, hey, I'm the expert. But just by sharing something of value, they start seeing you as the expert. Unlike in comparison to authority building posts, where you're sharing your own story or a client story of how you went from being stuck with something to overcoming it, right? And lists. Lists do really, really well because it's numbered, because it's easy for people to follow. Pure gold. Okay, so example of lists would be do's and don'ts, or articles that post the best, the worst, the easiest, those kind of things. Everyone loves to read lists somehow. Now, so these are the 4 different kind of posts you must have in a launch. And if you look around, if you observe other people's launches, you will see posts normally fall into these categories, whether or not they know it. But now that you consciously know it, it'll be easier for you to go ahead and create that. The catch is, all of these kind of posts for your webinar, for your challenge, as well for your course. I mean, how on earth do you create all of that content day after day after day? Because, especially if you have your cart open for a week or more, that's enough to drive anyone crazy, especially if you're trying to come up with it on the fly. Okay, so how do you do that? This is where my special secret sauce comes in. So go back to what you're launching, your course or program. What are the core modules or the core components of your program? Let's start calling them your core content pillars, because you can base your entire launch content, all of your marketing content on them. It sounds really simple, but again, no one seems to do it. People forget. People don't like simple solutions. They like complicated solutions. They like to give big fancy names to things and have a five-step formula or a 10-step something. But honestly, it's really simple. If you can base all of your marketing content on these core pillars, the components or the modules of your course. I love this image. It's from I'm forgetting where it's from one of the temples or old structures in India. You see these pillars, they're carved and they're beautiful, and yet they support such an amazing structure. That is what your content pillars do. So let's take an example about content pillars. Okay. For example, my program, the Launch Bootcamp, is a course about launching. And what I'm going to teach in that program, what I'm going to help people do and create in that is their launch strategy, their launch marketing content, and their sales page. Those are the things that I'm going to help them with. And therefore, the Launch Smart series, which has 3 webinars exactly on these topics. And if you see my posts on my Facebook page and elsewhere, all of my posts for the last few weeks have been about launch strategy, launch marketing, sales pages. So do you see how once we have these core pillars, it becomes so easy to structure your content. And the real reason people miss out on using these core pillars is they think that, they leave creating the course to the last minute or mapping it out to the last minute, or again, they want to include everything. Once you've decided the outline for your course or program, once you've decided the core modules, you can just go in, start reading those as your core pillars, and start creating your marketing content. Any questions on this, ladies? Okay, can you share what your biz is about, what your launch or what your course or program is about, so I can give you a couple of examples, okay? Can you share in the chat box here on Zoom what your course is about and 3 or 4 pillars or modules of your course. Share them in the chat box here and give me a minute while I check on Facebook. The Facebook comments seem to be stuck again. Okay, those of you watching on Facebook and you want to comment or you want to ask questions, please come over to the Zoom chat window, to the Zoom window. I've shared the link in Facebook. Okay. Katma, you want to share a bit about what is your course about and what are the core modules? Okay, so you have to share the modules, so then we can come up with examples. You know what, let's save that to the end of the webinar and let's go ahead. Okay, so this was to give you an example of how to use your modules as content pillars. Okay, let's go a bit more. Let's go a next step. So if once you have these content pillars, let's say you have 5 content pillars or 5 modules, okay? Let's say your course or program has 5 modules. Then your freebie can be either an ebook with, talking about those 5 pillars, the 5 simple steps, or the 5 pillars to XYZ. Okay. Your webinar could be all about the 5 simple steps to XYZ. Assuming XYZ is whatever your course or program is about. Your challenge could be 5 days to XYZ. So extract the mark. It's so simple. I do not understand why more people don't see this connection and why more people don't do it. And instead come up with, complicated launch strategies that leave you turning and twisted and in weird positions. You do not need complex launch strategies. Be clear about what the end goal of your course or program is. Map out the 5 steps or the 8 steps, whatever to it, and create a freebie that focuses on those 5 steps or those 8 steps. And you can use the same thing for an ebook, for a webinar, or for a challenge. Whatever launch trigger you choose, whichever method you choose for your launch trigger, you can use your core pillars to create it. As simple. You do not need to go to Facebook groups and ask, what do you think my next webinar should be about? Choose from these 5 topics. If you've done your homework right, if you've chosen the right kind of course topic for your target market that your audience is actually interested in, then just work backwards from there. That's the most important thing. Being aware of what your tribe, what your target market really wants, and creating a course around that. Okay, if you're clear on that, step back from there. What are the 4 or 5 or 8 modules for that course? Step back from there. That is what your ebook or webinar or challenge should be about. So then when you're running the webinar or the challenge, you can say, okay, so today we learned about this, and to learn more about it or to get more support on this, come join me for the course. I talk about it more over there. Or we go more in depth in the course, come sign up. It makes the transition, it makes the sale, it makes asking for the sale so much easier than having a random webinar that is only distantly related with your course. Okay, make sense? And then the next part, your posts. How do you create Facebook posts and blog posts? And you can use this structure even for creating your emails. Okay. So let's say you have, I'm going to say pillar 1, whatever pillar 1 is. And in a while, I'd love for someone to give an example, and then I'd show you how you can create these different kind of posts with that example. Okay. So you remember the authority building post? Share one of your personal stories or a client's stories that revolves around pillar 1. Okay. For example, let's say, just a minute. Okay. Your story or client story. For example, in the Launch Bootcamp, as we are launching, and I've been sharing client stories of what clients or what state a launch was in before clients signed up to work with me, and then what state we got it to, what kind of money we made, the kind of things we did, how we revamped stuff. I've been sharing those kind of client stories. Okay. So that says, yes, I have worked on launches and I can help you with your launch. Similarly, share your client stories. Connecting behind the scenes and why you are doing this. Because people love that personal connection. They love to know who they're working with or who they're going to be working with. So a couple of candid camera moments, or your personal story of what's driving you to do this and how it relates to pillar 1. Okay. Or why they should think about pillar 1 now and how it will impact them. For example, launch strategy. Or let's take the example of this webinar itself, launch content. You would have seen some posts where I talk about how not having your launch content sorted before the launch leads to stress, leads to burnout, leads to pulling your hair out during a launch. Okay. And therefore, you should come join me for this webinar. And from this webinar, you should come join me in the Launch Bootcamp. Simple, right? It makes the conversation flow so much smoother. Similarly, and last week, I had a few posts about sales pages. about why your sales page is important and why you shouldn't just slap something together and put it on the internet, so that you'd come and watch the sales page webinar. Okay. Similarly, about strategy, why you need to plan out your strategy beforehand, why you need to plan out your launch triggers, your launch dates, etc., beforehand. So those are examples of posts of why they should do this now, why, and how it impacts them. Teaching posts. So something about pillar 1. Again, launch strategy, have lots of posts on it. And lists of do's and don'ts, self-explanatory, right? So once you're clear about the pillars, do you see how everything else just flows? You don't have to think or break your head over what kind of authority post should I write? I need to connect. How do I form that connection? Or what should I teach about? Or what should I? You don't have to worry about those things. You have your core modules outlined, right? Take the first, write 4 posts about it. And then take the second pillar, write more posts about it. Take the third, write a few posts, 4 posts about it. Take the fourth, write 4 posts about it. And you have 16 posts all ready to go. You can also take snippets of those posts and share them separately. Okay, for example, if it's a blog post, the blog post has 5 steps on how to do something, or the entire how-to, and your Facebook post leading up to that blog post can say, would you like to learn more about how to do this? Head over to the blog post to read more. Or if it is a list with 7 steps to get you somewhere, or the 3 most common mistakes, your Facebook post can be one of those mistakes, and you can write, to read about the other 2, go over to this blog post. So it all comes together easily. You have this structure. Go back to your core modules, create Facebook posts and create blog posts around that. It's simple, it's effective, and it's a no-brainer. Absolutely simple, absolutely easy. Okay? And that's what helps you get to the stage where you can have a lazy launch. You would have seen a couple of people talk about how they were chilling while they were launching, and they didn't have to do anything during that launch, or they didn't have to do much, or they didn't have to stress out during that launch. The only way to get to that stage, the only way to do that is to have all of your launch content mapped out, written out before you launch. Have it all written out, have it all scheduled in Facebook, in your email scheduler, on your blog, everything. Have it all scheduled, okay? Create it and schedule so that, it just runs like clockwork. And then you can be more present during your launch, doing live interactions, doing Facebook Lives, responding to people, answering them, engaging with them, because that is what makes the most impact. And the best part about this is that it is repeatable. You do it for one launch and bam, you have all of the content ready to go the next time you launch, and you just have to put it in place. When people try the trial and error method of coming up with launch content on the fly, what usually happens is that launch content is subpar. Those posts don't make so much sense, and you know it. So the next time you're launching, again, you're repeating that entire cycle. You can't really reuse your old posts, or at least most of them, because you know they weren't quite up to the mark. And so you go create new posts. And then again, they're not quite up to the mark. So then next time you launch again, you have to create new stuff. But if you actually take the time to sit down and write out all of your posts, all of your Facebook posts, all of your blog posts, and all of your emails, the same structure, right? Just write it all down. Keep it ready. And bam, you don't just have a lazy launch this time, but the next time and the next time and the next time. It repeats. Okay. Now, any questions so far, ladies? Okay. So now, just give me a minute again. It's very, very hot out here. I drink a lot of water, yes. Okay. So now, the next step is, So I've told you the structure. I've given you examples. I've shared examples. Does anyone want to do another example? Okay, so let's move on then. So like I said, it creates a ripple effect. You create this content once and you can keep reusing it. Just fine tune it every launch. The first time you launch it, see how people react to it, come back, fine tune it, and the next launch you have something better and something better and something better. So you keep on improving it. Now, I've given you the structure, but there's a difference between knowing and doing, right? A lot of my clients know this at some level. They think they know the target market. They think they've written out these kind of posts. They think their posts are good. But when they put them out there, they don't get the kind of traction that they want or expect. Now, that's where I come in. That's where I help them. I help them review, I help them fine tune their strategy and their marketing content. Now, I know not everyone is ready for one-on-one work with me. Right? Yes, my one-on-one services are high-end. And especially if you've just launched once or twice, or you've never launched before, you don't want to, working one-on-one is not the best way to go. It's not the best investment. That's why I've created the Launch Bootcamp, which is an 8-week group implementation program specially designed to help you make more impact and more sales without having to resort to sleazy sales tactics. Now, in all of the content structure that I showed you, it's simple, it's easy, it's straight from the heart. You don't require to make up stuff or resort to any kind of sleazy sales tactics. In the Launch Bootcamp, I actually help you create it all, bring it all together. What you'll walk away with is to have your launch magically sorted. We'll map out your launch strategy, your launch dates, what should be your launch triggers. And not just that, we'll create the outline for your webinar, for your challenge. We will create your sales page together. I will install on WordPress plus DB templates for your sales page, for your landing page, for your thank you page, for your webinar sign up page, everything installed for you. So all you have to do is step in and put in the copy and your photos. I will also help you create all of that content, write all of that copy for your sales page, for all your Facebook posts, for all your blog posts, for all your emails. So that by the end of this program, you have all of your launch content ready to go. You will have your entire launch planned out and you just have to plug and play. And the best part, like I said, it's not a one-time thing. You can reuse this content for every launch thereafter. You can just keep fine-tuning it and rinse and repeat. Now, the details of what we'll do every single week are here at thericherjane.com/launch-bootcamp. I will also send this link out when I send out the replay for this, okay? Or you can just go look it up directly. But the best part of this is really that every single week I jump in on live group calls with you, live group coaching calls with you to review every single piece of your marketing content, okay? Yes, this is the launch bundle, the launch page bundle that I mentioned, where we will install your sales page, your landing page, your webinar sign up page, your thank you page, all of that installed for you. Because I know, yes, tech isn't everyone's strong suit and you shouldn't have to go about looking for other people to help you with this. So we install the templates for you. All you have to do is jump in and personalize them, customize them. Couple of other bonuses are a smart launch planner. So you have everything written out clearly, your launch dates, which post you're going to send out where and when, all of that all mapped out in a launch planner. Special affirmations and affirmations to keep you high vibing during that launch, because a launch can be a crazy roller coaster. 90% of signups happen at cart open, at early bird close, and at cart close. And in between, you have those lull periods. You have that lull where nothing's quite happening. You're putting out all of that content and nothing seems to be happening. No one's kind of signing up, or very, very few signups. These affirmations and affirmations will help you get through that roller coaster. And a few guided meditations to keep you high vibing during your launch. Because a launch isn't just about strategy, it isn't just about content. It's about mindset, strategy, and implementation all coming together. And in the Launch Bootcamp, I support you through all three. Okay. Any questions about the Launch Bootcamp? Post them in the comments or just send me a direct message on Facebook. Happy to answer your questions. If need be, we can set up a call to discuss it and see whether it's the right fit for you. Now, I know my bootcamps are not for everyone. My bootcamps are very intense and we get a lot of stuff done. So you will have to be fully present. You will have to commit at least 5 hours of work every single week to do this bootcamp. Okay. If you have any questions at all about the bootcamp, just send me a direct message. We'll talk. I'll help you decide whether or not it's the right fit for you. Okay, questions, ladies? Or anyone want to share their launch contents, share any of their posts, etc., to get feedback on it? Okay, let me check on Facebook as well. Okay, keep your comments coming in. I will go over to Facebook. Okay, so Akatma shares that she's running a website bootcamp and modules are defining their goals, target audience. Okay, Akatman, this is way too much in that you've listed 10 different things. Okay, so how can you cluster these? Can you cluster these to 4 or 5 modules of 4 or 5 weeks? This is a whole lot. I've run a website bootcamp before. I run a website bootcamp. So some of these things I can see clearly are not quite what they would need. You need to zoom in on who are the people, who is this bootcamp for? Okay. And instead of helping them choose, instead of giving them options to choose the right CMS platform, can you just tell them this is the CMS platform? And weaving in their marketing plugins is not a core module per se. It's one of the things you may want to teach. But what do they really need? You need to step back to what do they really need. I think this is getting into reviewing your course, especially because I also run a website bootcamp and I've been through this kind of learning process. I can see where you're coming from the tech perspective of what they need to know, but